Hi, I'm Hema Shroff Patel, and I'm here today with Avid Learning to talk to you about slow fashion. As we know, it's a very trendy, buzzy phrase, and it's been trending for the past couple of years now. Terms that come to mind are zero wastage, slower production schedules, fair wage, and such. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our micro label today. The name of our label is Amba. The heart of our story lies in Maheshwar, which is nestled on the banks of the Narmada River in Madhya Pradesh, where we're a team of six artisans, and with the head of our workshop. All of our artisans have been working in weaving over the years, and their skill sets have been passed down to them from generation to generation. So what we do is we produce refined shawls and stoles, which are basically, they're created every year based on a theme-based collection. And our weavers work with very traditional yarns such as cotton and silk, but we've also done a lot of innovation in other fibers such as wool and linen. And they have a little bit of the traditional details, like the border details, which we move around in them. And they're meant to really reflect traditional practices and techniques, but also push contemporary boundaries. We've got a little upcycle project as well, and that is interesting. We have, we're a social enterprise, and Amba, we have very fair practices. We have fair wages and a very transparent profit sharing scheme. We have minimum wastage, and on every loom that we produce about 22 scarves or stoles on one loom. There is usually one that is wasted, and that waste product is reimagined in this little zippy pouch. And our zippy pouch is really resonates the skills of our artisans and their refined weaving. It may have a minor flaw or defect in it, and it also showcases our little border detail. My journey through Maheshwar began 30 years ago when I started working at Rehwa Society. Rehwa Society was a charitable trust set up to give employment to the weavers in that particular community, but also to revive the handloom Maheshwari saree. I think Rehwa's gone on to do that and more. They've given so much employment to the town. There have been so many spin-offs henceforth. And it was interesting. 5 years ago, we went back and did a bit of a Rehwa Renaissance, where we basically worked on recreating all the old traditional borders and putting them into an archival bank. I've also worked with Women Weave. I was on their board for 17 years. The objective of Women Weave is slightly different. Women Weave aims to give employment to women with no weaving background. And most of those women come from backgrounds such as they're field workers. They were, making 80 rupees a day, working in the fields. And when they started weaving, they tripled their income within a year. They began with weaving very coarse yarn like khadi, and khadi actually became our symbol at Women Weave at the time. And the khadi was easy for them to handle and manage and weave, and it also was a really good disguise for any weaving defects. Working at the grassroots level, I think, gives one a lot of perspective. You make mistake upon mistake, you train and you train again. And I think our goals are really to build bridges between markets and with designers. And working towards that requires a lot of mindfulness and attention to community practices. And it's through doing that that we've been able to create impact and also push ahead and work on products and designs that bring freshness. So many labels follow such wonderful ethical practices in the world. I mean, there are so many people practicing really, really good, some very good practices and in slow fashion and other ethical practices. But right now I'd like to stay here in India and talk to you about two labels that I've had the opportunity to work with and that I know quite well. One of them is Raw Mango, and Sanjay Garg founded Raw Mango over 12 years ago. Sanjay began his journey in Chanderi, where he really only worked with renewing the color palette there. He brought a riot of colors to Chanderi, working with their balanced plain weaves, and worked a lot with contrast colors to the point where I'd say Sanjay's signature colors, which are Popat Green and Rani Pink, were really born through that initial project in Chanderi. Sanjay has been able to do a lot of revival work in extra weft inserts. Extra weft inserts are basically hand inserting extra yarn to create little patterns and motifs. And Sanjay did that within Chanderi in an interesting way, because Chanderi was initially known for weaving with a lot of extra weft and little motifs that were figurative, which would be a lot of birds, sometimes rarely flowers. But Sanjay brought a lot of geometric pattern. And that also brought new design elements to their repertoire of weaving. But I think Sanjay's biggest work, his biggest contribution has really been to dig deeply and dive deeply into research and then doing amazing archival work. And because of his mindful practices, he's been able to go on and recreate that model in other weaving clusters and communities as well. The other label I'd like to talk to you about today is Kishmish. Kishmish is about 15 years old, founded by Rekha and Nikki Kalia. They are a very interesting women's bespoke clothing label. They bring magic to their work through their work on details. They do amazing finishes, details, and trims. They are very, very, very focused on zero waste. In fact, their studio is moving quickly and very rapidly towards that. And one of the most charming projects they have is called the Potla Potli Project. So what the Potla Potli Project does is it brings together all their waste. They take their waste, they sort it into size piles, color piles, then they bring it all back to the table and they work out they take classic designs and patterns they've done before, and they take their little waste pieces of fabric and they fit them on to the table in the framework of that pattern. And it's almost as if they're working on a jigsaw puzzle of sorts. These are trying times, and I think it's important to pause for reflection. All of us working in the fashion or handicraft movement must stop and think about our ancient philosophies and our practices. And for me, Kabir, the weaver and poet, comes to mind. For those of you who don't know who Kabir is, Kabir Das was a weaver and poet who lived and worked in Varanasi during the 15th century. He eventually became a saint, a philosopher, and a mystic. His writings reflect Hindu and Islamic practices and beliefs, and they really represent a syncretic India in a time when the term syncretic did not even exist. I found a really lovely poem from Kabir's early writings which really resonate the time and the moment we're living in, and I wanted to share a few phrases of that with you. I weave your name on the loom of my mind to make my garment when you come to me. My loom has 10,000 threads to make my garment when you come to me. The sun and moon watch while I weave your name. The sun and moon hear while I count your name. There are wages I get by day and by night to deposit in the lotus bank of my heart. I weave your name on the loom of my mind to clean and soften 10,000 threads and to comb the twists and knots of my thoughts. So that's actually what we all need to be doing right now. Whether you're working on your loom at home or designing a silhouette in your studio, I think it's really time to take stock and work in the present very locally. I don't think we've ever had this gift of time to actually slow down and flesh out our thoughts or creative ideas. And we must all draw strength from our design and textile practices, beginning with reaching far within our own cultural values. Thank you.